Ever since May 7th, 1994, Raptor has been ruling the skies and dominating the skyline at the one and only Cedar Point, located in Sandusky, Ohio. Praised for its ride experience and debuting as a ride that many people have never seen before, the inverted coaster was a popular hit for parks looking to add a new attraction and for thrill-seeking guests. Even years after Raptor's debut, it is still a very popular attraction at Cedar Point. Even on this random Wednesday at 12:31 p.m., Raptor has a 60-minute wait. So it is no lie that people do love Raptor. And this is physical proof of a good design, as many years later people are still queuing up for the attraction. But I do think there could be a problem rising. Cedar Point's Raptor roller coaster is getting old. How old, you might ask? Next year, Raptor will be turning 30 years old. Now, normally this wouldn't be a problem, as we have seen many roller coasters gone beyond 30 years old and are still going strong today. Example, the Beast at Kings Island will be turning 45 years old next year. Good job, Beast. But Cedar Point is very much not like Kings Island. Unlike Kings Island, where they've only developed 49% of the land they own, Cedar Point has developed 100% of the land they own. They are all out of room to expand. So follow me into this video as I talk about all the things Cedar Point can possibly do with Raptor's fate. Either leave it the way it is, or maybe let it face its final demise. Alright, but first we're gonna have to do a little history lesson to get you up to speed if you don't already know. So here we go. B&M, or otherwise known as Bolliger & Mabillard, is a roller coaster manufacturing company. Founded in 1988 by engineers Walter Bolliger and Claude Mabillard, both of them who used to work for Giovanola, which is another roller coaster manufacturer. The newly founded Bolliger & Mabillard, or B&M, made their first roller coaster at Six Flags Great America. Opening in 1990 under the name Iron Wolf, this roller coaster was different compared to the others. Instead of having you sit down throughout the roller coaster experience, this roller coaster made you stand up, which was a very popular design in the late 80s and throughout the 90s. A roller coaster design made by Japanese roller coaster manufacturer Togo, where in 1984 they would build their first ground-up stand-up roller coaster in the US, called King Cobra at Kings Island in Mason, Ohio. Unfortunately for Togo, their own idea didn't really catch on too well here in the United States, but B&M stand-up coaster did. Throughout 1990 and 1999, B&M made 9 stand-up coasters. That's approximately 1 coaster per year. But that's also not including the other types of roller coasters they designed throughout the decade, not including the sit-down, the floorless, the hyper, the dive, and of course, the invert. Now of course the stand-up roller coaster got B&M started, but it really was the inverted coaster from B&M that put them on the map. B&M's inverted roller coaster is their most popular model to this day, 32 installations as of 2023. Now I won't bore you with the whole history of the B&M inverted coaster, as this is not what that video is for, but basically, long story short, people really like B&M inverted roller coasters. B&M inverted roller coasters are some of the most popular roller coasters at their respective amusement park, and some of them are favorites amongst the coaster community, like Montu at Busch Gardens Tampa or Alpengeist at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. And of course, you cannot forget Raptor at Cedar Point. Now when Raptor opened in 1994, it broke every single record for an inverted coaster at the time. We're talking about length, speed, height, and of course, inversions. The bread and butter for the inverted coaster. Raptor would have 6 inversions, the most any invert would have at the time. Raptor became the most popular attraction at Cedar Point. Cedar Point claimed that Raptor and Magnum XL 200, an aerodynamics hypercoaster that opened in 1989, would be the 2 premier roller coasters at the park. But not only just the park. Cedar Point said that Raptor and Magnum would be the 2 premier roller coasters in the world. That was how confident they were, and rightfully so they should be. Cedar Point shattered the theme park world with Raptor, and ever since Raptor has debuted, B&M has sold more and more inverts. Sure, it wasn't the first B&M invert, that belongs to Batman the Ride at Six Flags Great America, but it was the first large-scale invert from B&M. And no, Flight Deck doesn't count. But let's talk about our main problem here. Raptor is getting older by every year, and Cedar Point is all out of room to expand. And if you're all out of room to expand, you're going to have to remove things to get new attractions. Now obviously, no one wants Raptor to get removed. Raptor is one of the best attractions at Cedar Point. and Raptor has a huge fan base. But we have seen Cedar Fair remove attractions from parks that have had huge fan bases, like Volcano the Blast Coaster at King's Dominion. Now, Volcano the Blast Coaster had a lot of problems since day one, hence why they removed it, and Raptor doesn't really have a lot of problems since it's a reliable B&M. Now, reliability is good, but what happens when it gets old? This takes me to my first point with Raptor. Its age. Earlier in the video, I said Raptor will be turning 30 years old as of 2024. And for age limits on roller coasters, 30 years old can be a lot. Now, B&M has made over 120 different roller coasters, and only 2 of their roller coasters have gone extinct. Unfortunately, but also lucky for us, those 2 roller coasters are also B&M inverts. Both residing at Universal's Islands of Adventure, Dragon Challenge, or Dueling Dragons, was a pair of B&M inverted coasters that dueled each other. Both of these roller coasters operated from 1999 to 2017 when they closed. To make room for Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure. There we go. Woo! Now we can try to use this information and try to pinpoint how long exactly Raptor could last, but we also can't use it at the same time. These 2 roller coasters, or I guess 3 technically, are on complete different sides of the US. We have Raptor in Ohio and Dueling Dragons in Florida. In Ohio, it snows and it's cold. There's an off-season there for amusement parks. In Florida, there is no off-season. It's always hot year-round. Or to simple that down, Cedar Point closes for the winter, and Islands of Adventure at Universal Studios doesn't. That means Dueling Dragons is open every single day of the year. It doesn't get a break like Raptor does, where on the off-season when the park is closed, it gets multiple months of rest. That means Dueling Dragons gets more wear and tear than Raptor does, resulting in a shorter lifespan for the ride. In total, Dueling Dragons operated for 18 years. Now let's say Cedar Point's Raptor operated for 6 months out of the 12 months of the year. Raptor would have double the lifetime as Dueling Dragons. So if we take 18 and times it by 2, we would get 36. Now 36 years sounds like a lot, but Raptor next year will be turning 30, which means after 30, it will be 6 years until it turns 36. Now you could say that Dueling Dragons closed because of its low ridership. Ever since the 2 rides stopped dueling, ridership for the ride went down. But if we look at Incredible Hulk across the lagoon, we see that ride is very popular still, and it got retracked in 2016. Meaning the original attraction had 15 to 16 years of life, which only proves the point that Raptor could be in some deep water in the upcoming years. Just a couple seconds ago, I mentioned that the Incredible Hulk coaster Islands of Adventure got a retrack in 2016. Basically, by replacing all the track pieces, it's doubling the life of the roller coaster by keeping the same attraction. And this brings me to the solution to Cedar Point's problem that they may have in a couple of years with Raptor. What if they do the same thing that Universal did with the Incredible Hulk, but with Raptor at Cedar Point? Luckily, we have another example of this that isn't the Incredible Hulk at Islands of Adventure. To find this example, we're going to have to go to the UK's largest theme park, Alton Towers. Alton Towers also has a B&M inverted coaster in their lineup that coincidentally also opened the same year as Raptor in 1994. Alton Towers' Nemesis roller coaster is considered one of the most, if not the most intense roller coaster experience in the world. And as I speak, Alton Towers is retracking Nemesis right now. But after 30 years, why would a park want to retrack a roller coaster that is old and not replace it with a new one? For Alton Towers, there is 2 reasons. The first reason is that 1, the uniqueness of the land that they occupy. Having rules on how high roller coasters can be, they dug really big trenches to build their roller coasters in, and adding a new one in that trench would be a lot of extra work. And 2, Nemesis is really popular. Nemesis is a very famous roller coaster known around the world, and it's very popular at Alton Towers. Removing a very famous roller coaster and one favorited by many also combined with the first reason, it just wasn't the best idea for Alton Towers. Instead, they came at the problem a different way, with a different solution: retracking the ride. Yes, you're basically paying for the same ride you did 30 years ago, but it's okay if people are going to want to ride the attraction still. So let's bring all this knowledge to Cedar Point. In a 10-year plan, would Cedar Point want to completely retrack Raptor, or replace it with a newer attraction? Well, first, we're gonna have to look at a couple of factors. Do people like Raptor at Cedar Point? Yes, the answer is yes. Raptor is still one of the most popular attractions at Cedar Point. Another thing to think about is how visually striking Raptor is. When you're walking up or down that Cedar Point midway, Raptor is staring you down. Raptor brings a lot of kinetic energy to the midway. If Raptor were to be removed, it would forever change the way the midway feels at Cedar Point. Another thing is that Raptor is very iconic at Cedar Point. If Raptor were to be removed from Cedar Point, It would be one of those rides that would make Cedar Point never feel the same as it used to be, even if the ride that replaces Raptor would be better. I think this situation will really give Cedar Point a hard time of what they should do with their aging Raptor roller coaster. When the time comes, should they remove it or give it a full retrack? If I were to have to give a prediction on what Cedar Fair would do, honestly, I think it would be a 50-50 shot. But I'm slightly leaning towards them fully removing the attraction instead of a retrack. I feel like removing the attraction and adding something similar back in its place would do Cedar Point better. To get more guests inside the park with a new attraction instead of trying to do the same thing with an attraction that you already added 30-something years ago. I honestly feel like this is the same problem that Cedar Point ran into with the reimagining of Top Thrill Dragster. Spend a bunch of money to just open up the same ride, or spend the money to rebrand the attraction into something different. I feel like they will do the same thing with Raptor. Why spend money to keep this attraction up when they could just get a new one? Anyways, that's all I have for you. In the next 10 years, do you think Raptor will be removed, retracked, or just left the same? Tell me in the comments below. Anyways, this is Coasters Every Day, and I'll see you all later.